Day 12, Hanging with the Savior. While 2011 started out like any other year, with friends and family making plans to bring in the new year, in some parts of the world, political unrest was afoot. Public protests began in Tunisia. One man's protest roused the entire country to mutiny via social networking sites like Twitter and Facebook. Gaining international acclaim, this one event inspired other countries to do the same. Citizens in Egypt, Jordan, Yemen, and Saudi Arabia all shared discontent with their leaders, and soon after took to the streets desiring change. Try as they might, the authorities were unable to prevent protesters from using these popular sites to organize their rallies. As I watched these events unfold, I couldn't help think of the public demand for Jesus' crucifixion. Matthew chapter 26, verses 2 to 4, tell us that the religious leaders didn't like Jesus and wanted him dead. After surrounding him and the other apostles that night in the garden, the religious leaders had Jesus arrested. The next morning, they tried to accuse Jesus of inciting riots and refusing to pay taxes to Caesar. Doing so meant that Jesus would have to face the death penalty. 3 times that day he was found innocent, and, therefore, was only sentenced to be flogged. At this point, a crowd had gathered. The verdict wasn't good enough for the public, and they demanded his death. Matthew chapter 27, verse 15 tells us it was customary for the Roman governor to release one prisoner every year during Passover. And because all of this happened to Jesus during the Passover celebration, Governor Pontius Pilate presented the crowd with a choice. They could either set Jesus free or release a notorious murderer named Barabbas. Coerced by priests and religious leaders, the crowd demanded Barabbas be set free. Jesus should die. Frustrated with the crowd, Pilate did what they asked and assumed no further responsibility. Beatings began. He was whipped, humiliated, and mocked. Then they brought Jesus to the site for crucifixions, known as Skull Hill. He was hung on the cross and left to die, along with 2 criminals. One of the criminals challenged Jesus to prove himself by saving all 3 of them from death. Luke chapter 23, verse 39. The other criminal protested by reminding him of Jesus' innocence and their guilt. Out of the 3 of them, Jesus is the only one who didn't do anything wrong. The criminal then humbly asks Jesus to remember him in heaven when all this is over. Luke chapter 23, verse 43 says that Jesus told the criminal his request had been granted, and that they would be in heaven together. I wonder, are any of us there, hanging with the Savior? We break the law and we end up in jail for our actions. Or we encourage someone facing a trial only to have it backfire, and we become accused of being co-conspirators with the other party. You take your eyes off your child at the playground, and someone snatches her. You live with blame and guilt. No one wants to trust you. Or a coworker comments on your smashing good looks one day, and before you know it, you're caught up in an adulterous affair. Though we may think it's too late, we do have a Savior waiting to hear us call out to him. Just like the repentant criminal on Skull Hill, Jesus is ready to remember us and forgive. The crowd may be screaming, "Crucify him!" but the Savior says, "Father, forgive them."